Hi, this is your host with Odyssey. And today we'll be looking at the story of Elsa. But before we do so, please like and subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell to get notified whenever we upload new videos. And please remember to share this video with a friend. You can also connect with us on social media. Elsa was a 23-year-old young woman from Endel, who was engaged to marry the dashing Prince Hans of the Southern Isles. Her younger sister Anna had fallen in love with an iceman named Kristoff, and together they had set out on a journey to find Elsa in order to ask her to come back to Arendelle so that she could attend their wedding. In this story, we look at how Elsa came to be the Snow Queen. But before we begin, we would appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. This will help us to reach more people with the message of God's word. Arendelle was in full swing as everyone prepared for Elsa and Hans's wedding. Elsa looked beautiful in her white shimmering gown as she held onto Hans's arm and waved to her subjects. Ever since the death of their parents, she had been ruling over Arendelle alongside her sister. She loved her people and wanted nothing but the best for them. Because of this, she had worked tirelessly to ensure that the kingdom flourished during her reign. It was only fitting that she married someone who shared the same values. And she believed that she had found that person in Hans. However, there was one thing that Elsa was dreading about the upcoming wedding. For some reason, Anna hadn't returned yet. The two sisters were very close and had always done everything together. So for Elsa not to see her at such an important event in her life was strange. It wasn't long though before she found out why. Anna ran through the palace gardens with Kristoff by her side. They were both out of breath and it was clear that they had been running for some time. Suddenly, Anna turned to Kristoff and said, "I'm sorry. I just can't do this anymore." She broke down into tears. "My sister is getting married and I'm not even there. How could I have been so selfish?" Kristoff put his hand on her shoulder in an attempt to comfort her. "Anna, I know you didn't mean for things to turn out like this, but there's still time for you to make it to the ceremony." He tried to convince her, but she shook her head. "No, I've made up my mind. I want to stay here with you." Kristoff was shocked. He couldn't believe that Anna would give up her chance to be with her sister on her special day. "But what about your duty to Arendelle? Your parents would be so disappointed." However, Anna just hugged him tightly. She knew that he was right, but she couldn't bring herself to leave him. Kristoff returned the hug, and in that moment, both knew that they had made the right decision. Meanwhile, Elsa had just arrived at the palace where the wedding was being held. She looked stunning in her white dress and veil, and all eyes were on her as she walked down the aisle. She took her vows and exchanged rings with Hans. Then it was time for the first dance. As the music began, Hans offered his hand to Elsa, and they began to waltz around the room. All the guests applauded as the couple danced, and Elsa couldn't help but smile. This was everything she had ever dreamed of. Suddenly, a loud crash was heard from outside. Everyone turned to look toward the window as they saw a large icicle fall from above. People began to panic, but Elsa remained calm. She knew that something was wrong, but she couldn't leave Hans at their first dance. Just then, another icicle fell. Only this time it landed on Hans's foot. He cried out in pain as he fell to the ground. Elsa immediately rushed to his side, but it was too late. The icicle had cut deep and there was nothing she could do to save him. Tears streamed down her face as she watched him die in front of her. She had never felt this kind of pain before, and she didn't know what to do. In a panic, she fled the room. As Elsa ran through the castle, she could hear the townspeople shouting and screaming. They were scared of her now, and she understood why. She had just killed the man that they had chosen to be their king. She ran out into the courtyard where she saw her sister standing. "Anna, I need your help," she cried. But Anna just shook her head. "I'm sorry, Elsa, but I can't help you. I'm leaving Arendelle, and I don't intend on coming back." With that, she turned and ran off into the forest. Elsa was devastated. Not only had she lost her fiancé, but now her sister had rejected her as well. She felt like she had nothing left to live for. Suddenly, Elsa began to feel a surge of magic inside of her. She didn't know what was happening, but she could feel her powers growing stronger than ever before. She let out a loud scream as she tried to control her magic, but it was no use. Her power was too great, and she couldn't contain it. The magic surged through her body, and she collapsed to the ground in pain. When Elsa awoke, she was in a cave. She had no idea how she got there, but she could feel that her powers were under control once again. She stood up and began to explore the cave when she saw a group of ice creatures. They bowed before her and said, "Hail, Queen Elsa. We have been waiting for you." Elsa was confused, but she knew that these creatures were somehow connected to her powers. She asked them, "Who are you and why am I here?" The creatures replied, "You are the Snow Queen, and this is your true home." They led her further into the cave until they reached a large chamber. There Elsa saw an ice palace that sparkled in the dim light. She walked inside and gasped in amazement. Everything was made of ice and snow, and it was the most beautiful place that she had ever seen. The creatures explained that this was her ice castle, and they were her loyal subjects who would serve her forever. Elsa was overwhelmed with emotion. She didn't know what to do or say. She had just lost everything, and now she was being offered a chance to start over. She spent many years in the ice castle, learning to control her powers and living with the creatures. She became known throughout the land as the Snow Queen, and many people were afraid of her. However, there were some who saw her as a symbol of hope. These were the people who had been oppressed by the greedy Duke of Weasels, and they begged her to come back to Arendelle and help them. Elsa knew that she couldn't stay in her ice castle forever. She had to face her problems and try to make things right, so she gathered her courage and returned to Arendelle. She was shocked at what she saw. The Duke had taken over the kingdom and made everyone's lives miserable. But she was also surprised to see that her sister was still there. Anna had refused to leave Arendelle, and she had been working secretly to bring down the Duke. The two sisters reunited and made a plan to overthrow the Duke and restore Arendelle to its former glory. Together they were able to rally the people and defeat the Duke, and once again, Arendelle was free. Elsa was finally able to let go of her past and move forward with her life. She knew that she would never forget what had happened, but she was grateful for the opportunity to start over. She ruled wisely and compassionately, and her people loved her for it. She also found love again when she met an Iceman named Kristoff. They had a son and daughter who grew up to be kind and intelligent young adults. And Elsa knew that the future of Arendelle was in good hands. And that's the end of today's story. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to share it with a friend. You can also connect with us on social media. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.